Hi, it's Jared from Strong Roots Farm. Welcome back to the channel. We have an exciting video today. I'm super stoked about this video if you can't tell. I have found the best range target for shooting sports. So today in this video, not only am I gonna show you this target, I'm gonna show you where you can acquire the material, how you can build it yourself, and give you all of the reasons why this is the best target, and show you the other targets that you could be using up against this. That's all coming up right after this. Well, welcome if you're new to our channel, and welcome back if you've been following us along. This is not the first shooting target video that we've made. So if you've missed those, you're gonna miss some of the information for this video. Please look back, watch the other videos, see how we're gonna do. So I will go through kind of a recap if you've been following along on the targets that we've been making. But if you wanna know how to make them, you're gonna need to click back and watch those other videos. So today we're just gonna run through all of those targets. Beginning of the video, I said I have found the best shooting range target, and I believe I have. So anytime somebody says best, it's pretty much gonna end up being their opinion. So it's important that you know why and how they're using a rating system to rate this product. Whether they're being paid by a sponsor and they're gonna show you how to do it, or whether they have some rubric where they weigh things out, or how they test, it's important to know what are they using to evaluate these products. So first of all, I'm not being paid for this video. In fact, I've never seen these range targets used anywhere else. I tripped upon them here on the farm, and it's turned out to be the best thing we have ever used. So, never seen it on YouTube, never read forums about it, never seen it at any range, nor have I even heard anything about these kind of targets or using this material for targets. Today, I'm gonna show you that though. So let's go over some of the parameters of how I'm gonna weigh that this is the best target. The first parameter we looked at when we were trying to decide what is the best target was reactive targets or reactability. So how does the target react when your round hits it? Does it just move? Does it make a sound? Does a flare go off? Does it explode? Is it marked on a piece of paper? How does it react? So most people want to see things spin or see a reaction when their round hits. That's pretty evident. But you'll see these paper targets that explode and make things even more visible. They're creating more reaction in their paper. So reactability is the number one thing. How does it react when you shoot it? The second thing is durability. How long does it last? Will it last 200 rounds, 500, 1,000 rounds, 5,000 rounds? How does it react to the rounds? How long is this product gonna last? Not only to rounds, but to weather. Can you just leave it out? Will it disintegrate with snow and rain and wind? Will it blow away? Or will it last through time if you put it out there? So you have to weigh this option kind of on yourself. If you're setting up your targets and taking them every time, you don't really have to worry about weather. Versus me, where I have a standard place that I shoot and I leave things forever, the durability of the target is very important to me. Not only that, how durable is it when it reacts to these rounds? How often do I have to replace it or mark it or cover holes or whatever the case would be? So durability is our second factor. The third factor was accessibility. How easy could I find it? I can go online and find the greatest and grandest target, but if I have to wait a month for back orders to come in for me to get these things, or if I have to drive a far distance to a store to get them, it's not a big deal for just normal cardboard boxes, but those are junky targets. How easy and how hard is it to get these targets? Accessibility was the third thing we looked at. The fourth thing we looked at is, while on the range, how time efficient was it? So what I mean by this is, as you go to the range, if you shoot for a little bit and then you have to stop shooting to go down range to set your targets back up or patch holes or do something in that manner, you're wasting time resetting targets instead of shooting. So how often and how much time do you need, or how much time do you spend at the range resetting or fixing these targets? How time efficient are you? So when we look at the target, we say, I want to spend more time shooting than I do fixing my range. And so that's how we come up with time efficiency on a range. The fifth thing that we looked at, which doesn't apply a lot to me, but it may be to you if you're carrying your targets and setting them up every time you go to shoot, is mobility. How hard is it to set these things up, take them back down, carry them with you, store them at your house? The mobility of the targets. That's a big, important deal to some people that don't have land or don't have their own range, and they go to a friend's house or they go to public land or wherever it would be. So mobility was another factor that we looked at. The sixth thing that we looked at was cost. How cost effective is it? This sport can be costly. You know, if you spend $1,000 on a pistol and $200 on rounds to go to the range and whatever you're spending on, the things that you're doing, holsters and bags and cases and all the stuff that goes along with shooting sports, then you have to spend more money on your targets. So how cost effective is it? This is something you're just gonna shoot holes in, essentially. How cost effective is it for you to practice and become efficient in your pistol or rifle or whatever it would be? How cost effective are the targets? And the last, most important piece that we looked at was how safe are they? Do we have to worry about ricochets? Do we have to worry about bullets traveling through and needing a big backstop? How safe are these? Are they sharp after you shoot through them? That was very important to us, and probably it's the most important thing you should think about anytime with a range is the things that you're doing and how you're training. How safe is it? You need to be safe at all times. So the most important thing we looked at the end there was the safety rating of overall these targets that we looked at. Another part of this criteria would be how many different types of calibers can we shoot at it. So if you're buying steel targets and you buy a thinner target, you can't shoot a high caliber at a thinner target. But if you buy a thick target and you shoot a 22 at it, let's say, it doesn't react like the other steel targets do. So I wanted a target that I could shoot every type of caliber at, and it would be more useful for more types of calibers, all the way from airsoft and BB guns for my little kids, all the way up to 50 cals. So when we looked at this was another factor that we looked at, was this, how many different types of calibers, how much use can I get out of it? So we're gonna come out to the range now, here at our house, here at the farm. We call it the range. I've said this in other previous videos. It is not a legal gun range. We don't rent it out. It's private use only, friends and family. It's just a place that we shoot guns at the farm, and so we call it the gun range. Once again, legalities and insurance-wise, not a legal gun range. Nevertheless, we are going to come out here and we are going to look at some different types of targets, and I'm going to go through the pros and cons of it before I show you the best overall target, and we'll talk about these. So some of these may be a better decision for you, but we're going to show them to you and go through those things and help you understand why we landed where we did. So the first thing we're out here showing is our paper holder targets. And so we've made these stands. They've got a 1-inch slide. You can slide stuff down through the top of them. These stay put, and the idea is you can put plywood, you can put cardboard, you can put drywall in here, staple up your paper targets or cardboard, or just draw on whatever you have here, and you can shoot. And you can go over and over and over, but at the end of the day, the product is trash, and so you can take it out and throw it away, but the stands remain, and they can remain time after time, and we don't have to throw them away. And so these things are 30 inches by 36 inches, and if you are not good enough to not hit the trim, you shouldn't be shooting at my range. And so that's kind of the product that we use here. So with this, the first type of targets are going to be your paper targets, whether that's cardboard IPSC targets, whether that's staple up paper targets with grids that are nice for zeroing in, whether that's Amazon boxes. And so if you have some deal at your house with every time your wife spends money on Amazon, you get to go shoot the box up. That's a pretty good trade-off. But either way, there's pros and cons to paper. Obviously, as a con, paper deteriorates quickly. You can't leave it out. You can't use it over and over. It fades very quick. Once you poke a hole in it, it's done for pretty much at that point. And so you can cover those holes with stickers. They do make plates, guns that they have these little sticker pads on them that you can use for your cardboard targets. But 1 week into shooting, any cardboard, any paper is pretty much done for. On the other side of that, paper's super cheap. And so you can buy a pack of 10 for 10 bucks usually, maybe 15 if you buy a really good wax coated paper. And then you can spend a little more and add to that reactionary column with these reactive targets. They're a little bit more expensive, but you're shooting white and then they explode with an orange color. So it's nice. The pro to the paper, I would say, over some of the other targets is that it's very accurate. So a lot of people use paper, and it's recommended to use paper if you're zeroing. So you can buy those targets with a grid system on them. You shoot them, and it tells you how to sight in your scope or your red dot or whatever you're doing, and it helps you to zero and put those things in the correct settings. And so a lot of people use paper, but it is ultimately a very cheap product that you have to reset time after time after time. And if you are shooting targets that are paper on any range, you're going to spend a lot of time downrange replacing those targets or covering them up or marking the circles. And every time you go downrange at any range, there's a safety factor there, because you're always relying that everybody back is smart enough not to shoot at you while you're downrange. And so there's a lot of safety factors that go on at any range to keep people from doing that. But there is increased risk and an increased insurance and all those things that come along with going down range. So those are the pros and cons of paper. The next thing we have, and I have some of these, are these clay pigeon holder style targets. And so there's multiple different types. I bought these online. They're simply a plastic injection molded clip. They slide over the CMT conduit that we have, and they're made to clip onto a clay pigeon, and they hang there and we can shoot them and they're reactive. And so you can set multiple ones up. But same thing as paper. We have to keep going down range to replace them. The price is nice. The price is low. It's a little bit higher than paper, but you can get a case of clay pigeons for fairly cheap. And you can set these up. They will hold in the weather, so it's better weather than paper, but it's got the same con as far as going down and setting them up. One thing I've noticed with this clay pigeon idea, though, and we bought this and tried this out, is that rifle rounds go right through them. So you take a 22, it'll literally just poke a hole in the clay pigeon and it won't break and shatter. So the idea was my kids could shoot it and they would explode like they do with skeet shooting. That doesn't necessarily happen with these. And so you can see some of them are kind of cracked. I don't know if you can even see that. Some of these are cracked halfway or they split, and they just don't break nicely. And so they are a good target. They're cool to shoot. We have them here, obviously. And I think I spent $15 on a packet of holders that held 25 of those holders in it. And you can set this up. They're not great, but they have pros and cons, and that's another type of target you can have. Next, we have some small steel targets. And you can see this spinner, hopefully. It's been shot over and over. This is our 22 spinner for my kids. You hit these things and they spin around. We've also got some homemade ones that we just painted back on these posts. And so they're nice. You can build these for fairly cheap. I have a video on it if you want to see how to build some of these. And you can put these in. We have a shooting tree that's here with different things for plinking for our 22. And there's pros and cons with these as well. One, it's more expensive. So it's definitely more expensive and takes more time than paper or the clay pigeons. But, and I'm a pretty, handy guy as far as DIY. I welded all these up. And so if you don't have the tools and the equipment to do all that, this would be a hindrance for you as far as making your own. And buying these can be fairly expensive. That little spinner that somebody gave to us, those things are like $30 for a teeny little small one there. And the bigger spinners that you go, the bigger plates that you buy, they just continue to go up rapidly in price. Another big negative with these smaller plinking style targets is the range capacity as far as how far away, how close you can shoot, and what type of caliber you can shoot at them. So most of this stuff is only meant for 9mm and 22 BB guns, those types of things. You should not be shooting ARs at these small 1/8 inch thick or smaller thin metals, 3/16 even, because the rounds will just go through it and they'll destroy it. And then if you dent them up, if they don't go through, they just put dents in them, then you come back and you shoot a 9mm at it, you can get ricochet factors back. And so it adds a sense of safety issue when you're shooting at any kind of metal target. But that's the problem with these small ones. The con or the pro is that you don't have to go back and set them up. They spin, you can continue to shoot all day long with that 22, but you want to shoot anything else with it and you're dead in the water. So it's not very effective for all types of calibers there. Next, we have the same thing, just kind of stepped up a little bit with our AR500 plates. So we've got a couple man targets here. We've got an AR500 spinner that we built here. So this is 3/8 up to 1/2 inch thick steel. Okay, so it's AR500 steel, which is a harder steel. Sometimes you can buy plates that are also coated, but these plates have pros and cons. The immediate con with these plates is the price. So one of these man targets you can find them on a deal maybe at $80, but they're going to run you on a typical day between $120 and $150 per plate. And that's no hardware. If you want a stand with spring-loaded hinges and hardware that goes with it, you're going to spend $200 per target on one of these man-sized targets from AR500. If you want a 6 or 8 inch gong plate, just the plate, no hangers, no rack, those things are going to cost you 30, 40 bucks. So they're super nice to have. They make a loud noise, they ding, they move, they're durable. You can leave them out here. They're going to last years upon years upon years through thousands and thousands of rounds. That's definitely a pro, but the con is the price. There's also a factor of ricochet. You cannot shoot ARs, whether it's 223, whether you're looking at a 308, whether you're looking at anything, any heavy rifle round, you cannot shoot those closer than 100 yards in my opinion. There will be ricochets. You can shoot 9mm at these things with some different style rounds, some range rounds, and you can shoot those within 75, 50 yards perhaps, and be safe. But rifle rounds, you need to be further away. So you need to have more land or more distance. And there's a problem with those ricochets though. And so just like the other ones, you shoot this with a high rifle round, heavy rifle round, and it dents, and then you go back and shoot it with a 9mm later at another day, you'll get ricochet factors. And so you got to wear eye protection all the time anyways. And I've never heard of a ricochet coming back and killing anybody, but it can definitely cut you in the face. If it hits you wrong, you definitely can get your eye put out if you're not wearing proper eye protection. But it's just a danger factor. There's just danger things with these. I still have them. They're awesome to shoot. They're fun. There's lots of pros about them, but you have to be safe with them. And so as you go through this rubric and weighing out what target is best and what you should use, the safety factor of these is a little higher and the cost is extremely high. And so that's what's going to knock these AR500 targets that everybody else is pushing. That's what knocks them down a little bit on the list compared to what I'm going to show you as the best target today. Another thing people like to shoot is beer bottles and pop cans. So first off, do not shoot beer bottles. Just as a recommendation for me, anything that's glass that you are shooting is going to shoot glass everywhere. It's going to make a mess on the ground. That stuff lasts forever, so it's going to be there. Anytime somebody later just is going on a hike, there's glass everywhere. That is not something that you should be doing. It makes a huge mess, but people do it, and you see it happen all the time. And I would say it's very irresponsible to shoot anything glass. Beer bottles or beer cans, pop cans, whatever you want to do. We all started there. Grandpa's yard shooting pop cans with our BB gun. It's fine. You can knock them over. They're reactive. It takes a lot of time to set them up. They are usually free. People are drinking pop, save a bag of pop cans and go out and shoot your pop cans. They make a mess. You have to clean them up. It's a bunch of trash. They obviously don't last longer than one shoot. And so cheap things like this that people use, whatever it would be, you can take this category and put all kinds of crazy stuff in here that people shoot. That's the kind of factors you want to look at. Yeah, it's cheap and yeah, it's reactive, but it's a huge mess. It's not easy to carry around. It's doesn't last forever or even past one weekend. And that's kind of the problem with items like this. Last type of target, I don't have them to show you today, but we've shot many a times and it's going to be a weird one, is vegetables. And like, what are you talking about? So pumpkins, gourds, watermelon, these kind of things that you can get, rotten vegetables, you can find. And so there's pros and cons. One, they're usually throwaway items. They're cheap. You can find them. But the big con for me on that kind of stuff, water balloons, whatever it would be, is the mess. It's a huge mess to clean up. You're spreading this stuff out everywhere. So if you're out in a farm and it's going to rot and you don't care, that kind of stuff's fine. Most rifle rounds travel right through and leave a hole. It doesn't react. You have to go up and look and see if you even hit it. So that's probably the least of desirable and target ranges for me. But it is kind of cool if you can blow up, put some tannerite in a pumpkin and blow it up. That's a cool, fun day. But they're not the greatest thing to use as targets all the time. All right, so we've come to the point. What is the best target? Get to the point, Jared, and here it is. The best target in my mind, and we'll go over this why, are these rubber reactive targets. And so if you've never seen these before, I hadn't either. I made this up. We stumbled upon it here at the farm. We have some of this. This is called rubberized horse stall mat. If you've never seen this before, here's a little ad for it. All right, so let's go through the criteria. We talked about it. Is it reactive? Yes, these things will swing. We're gonna hang these from a chain or from 550 cord. These things will swing. You will see movement when you hit them. They don't have so much of a sound like the gong style targets will, but we're also gonna paint these white, and I'll show you that back here in a minute. And when you paint these things white and you shoot through them, the hole comes out black. So not only will it react and move from a far distance, but if you're looking through a spotting scope, you can see exactly where you hit and hone in and zero in a little tighter on where you're gonna go. The durability. These things can be left in the weather. They're not going anywhere. They can be stored. They're mobile, okay? And they can be reused time and time again. They self-heal. As the round goes through, it heats and goes through, it opens up the hole and then it closes right back up. You'll see the mark, just like on paper, but it will go through there and you can use this time and time and time again. If you're shooting in the same exact hole, you'll shoot 3, 4, 5, 6 times before you ever put an indentation mark in this that won't heal itself. So at the end of the day, all we do is we take our white spray paint, we go back and we spray paint over this, and you can't even tell where you shot through. If there ever comes a time that we shoot so much that there becomes a gaping hole in this, what we do is we take them down, we'll get some paintable caulk, and we'll just fill it with a rubberized silicone or paintable caulk. We'll fill that hole up, we'll seal it back over, paint over top of it, and we're back to square one, back to new targets. These things are heavy enough that they're gonna swing for a heavy round. They're gonna stay in place for a heavy round. They're not gonna fall over, but they're light enough that you will be able to tell when a 22 goes through these things. And so for me, this facilitates the all calibers. I can shoot airsoft at them and the airsoft will plink off of this, but you'll hear it hitting it. BB guns will do the same thing. They'll plink off of this, but because it's rubberized, there's no ricochet factor back to my kids. But then every caliber up, 22 up to 6.5 Creedmoor, you're gonna be able to shoot through this. It's safer because of the ricochet factor, but it also is good for the calibers as far as it can handle any kind of hole, any kind of target, anything will go through this to a point. I have actually seen 22s get stuck in this because it is pretty hard. This stuff is pretty rigid, but they'll just leave small holes typically. The other factor, which is my favorite factor, is cost. The cost of these versus an AR-500 man plate is astronomically cheaper. So for one of these AR-500 plates, I'll spend $150 and I'll have to mount it somewhere and buy the stand and all those kind of things. For this, for $50, I can make 8 of these. 8 of these targets, or 6 if you make them bigger. If you make smaller ones, you can make 8 for $50. And so let's go over how to make them. I told you I'd show you where to get it. I'll talk about that, but I'm gonna show you how to make these on your own, minimal equipment. You don't have to have a big farm or a big shop with lots of tools. This is so simple. All right, this stuff is pretty heavy duty. And when you buy a 4x8 or a 4x6 sheet of this, it's gonna be heavy. You're gonna need 2 people to lift it up. This stuff is 3/4 inch thick. So it has a good, rigidity to it. It's pretty hard to flex, but you can flex it. Obviously, if it was warmer and not 30 degrees, it would flex a little more. But to cut this stuff, you need a knife. A razor knife like this with a brand new blade is what I would recommend. Do not use a circular saw, jigsaw, sawzall, any kind of reciprocating saw like that. It sounds good. It sounds like you're just gonna be able to cut like this, like plywood. But in reality, all this stuff's gonna do is heal itself back around the blade and burn your saw up or burn your saw blade up. And so this is the best way. This is the best way to do it. So I'm gonna show you how to cut it now. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get you some kind of square. You don't have to have a metal carpenter square like me. You can use a board, just something to drag an edge on, okay? And you're gonna put this mat on the ground. I've chosen to put a piece of plywood underneath of it so that I don't cut into my concrete with my blade and dull my blade. You can do this on a table, you can do it on sawhorses, whatever you want to do. I just choose to do it on the ground where I can get more pressure on it. Measure out, make a mark, and then you can go ahead and begin to cut this. And so I'm going to use my square here as my straight edge. I'm going to go through and score this thing twice, pulling slightly. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and score it twice like that. Next, I'm going to take my mat and bend it up in the air. When I bend it up, you'll see this crease right here where my cut was. So I'm going to bend it onto itself and put my knife in the same crevice, and this stuff will simply open right up on itself. Just so. Now, if I want to make square targets, which is what I think I'm going to do with this piece, I'm just going to cut this in half. Or you can go ahead and cut out your man targets. You can cut out small, slender, plinking targets. Whatever you want to do, that's what you'll do with this mat. You can cut it to any shape, size that you would like. Next, we have to have some way to hang these targets. And so that's where I recommend is that you hang them and they'll swing when you hit them. And so what we're going to do is we're going to drill 2 holes in the top corners of these mats. And so come down 1/4 to a 1/2 inch down, get you a drill, any kind of drill will work. Get a larger drill bit than you think. So this is a 5/16 drill bit. It can be a metal or a wood drill bit, but I do recommend a wood drill bit, especially if it has those nice little starter points on it. Then you're gonna buy some S-hooks. Simply little S-hooks like this. The bigger the better, but you don't have to have ginormous ones, but just the bigger it helps you to flex them. And you're gonna put the S-hook in the hole, and then I took my pliers and crimped them down, and I ended up with something like this. And so now I have these hooks. So you can hang these hooks on 550 cord, on any kind of rope really. You can hang them if you have a bunch of fishing line, I don't know. And I use chain. And so you can buy a roll of chain. I have purchased this 2/0 by 30 foot roll of chain at Lowe's. It's stainless. I've used this for all kinds of different projects on the farm and then a lot of these targets. So this is what I would recommend. If you're gonna leave it in place, you can just simply get some eye bolts and put these chains into it and hook it. And then when you wanna take these down, unhook your chain off, do whatever repairs or painting or whatever you wanna do, and then hang them back up. So this is good to have. But if you're looking to do this on the cheap, you can buy 550 cord or braided cord at Harbor Freight for fairly cheap, less than 10 bucks. And you can use that to hang these targets up. The thing you're gonna do is spray paint these. And so I did not go out and shoot this with an AR 9mm yet, but right here, this little teeny speck, that right there, that's from a 22 going through. That's how much these things self-heal. So they hold paint pretty well. I just painted this again. What I have is I have a little cardboard template that I cut out with a 2-inch circle. And I paint a orange circle in the center of these, just to give my kids something, aim small, miss small, something a little smaller. So you'll paint these targets. You can paint both sides. And these things can be flipped around if you're trying to just make them last longer. But this is all it takes. Now you have a white target. You can see from, however far you want to be. This is a 18 inches, I think, 18 by 18 target. You could easily shoot that at 500 yards with any AR or, if you have a long range rifle. You should very easily be able to see that. You'll see it move. And hopefully through your spotting scope at that distance, you should be able to see exactly where you hit on that target. All right, let's go over the tool list one more time so I can help you build these the best way. You're gonna need the mat. I recommend Rural King, TSC, stores like that. I've seen these at Home Depot and Lowe's before, but most likely a farm and fleet style store is gonna have the best price on these. I would not spend more than $50 on a 4x6 sheet. 4x8s, though I've seen them up to 60, but you can find them for $50, $45, depending on what size they are. These come in 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch thick, typically at those farm style stores. You can buy these up to 1 inch thick at a specialty store. So you're gonna need the mat. You're gonna need to drill with the drill bit. You could use a large punch or a nail to poke a hole in this. So if you don't have a drill and you wanna look to do it cheaper, you can try it that way. A drill is obviously easier, borrow one from your neighbor. You're gonna need some S-hooks and a pair of pliers to crimp that down. You're gonna need something to hang it with, whether that be chains, whether that be 550 cord, any kind of other rope, wire for that matter. And so something to hang it with, and you're ready to go, and then some spray paint. And so I would always start with white, and then you can put black or orange dots in the center of them, and you're ready to go with this. It will not need healing the first couple times you go shooting. So it will not need like a caulk to fill any holes. These things should last you for years and years without having to be repaired. But let's look at the cost. One AR 500 plate, yeah, they'll hold 10,000 rounds. But you can buy 8 of these targets through your Target Experience for the same price as one AR 500 target and still not have the hardware to mount it. So in my mind, with the durability, the safety levels, all the other things, the mobility of it, the vast amount of calibers I can use now makes this the best target for a DIYer or for any range in that matter that you can shoot at and have a wide variety of practice, a wide variety of skill sets. There are some advantages to every product that we saw today. So I probably will still use paper to zero. But when you look at all the targets that I showed you, if you're looking to set something up, this is definitely by far, in my mind, the best target you can build for yourself. Well, there you go. I hope this helps. I hope this video was informative and showed you everything that you need. I hope this will increase your desirability to get into this sport and to shoot a little bit. It can be cost effective. You don't have to spend a fortune to do things. Nobody is going to judge you for shooting pop cans and boxes that your wife gets. Nobody's going to judge you for those things, but if you're looking to set up something permanent, if you're looking to have something a little nicer when you go shooting with your friends, this is a good way to do it. Don't tell your friends about this video. Perhaps share it or whatever you would do. I would really appreciate that. But build some of these targets, and next time you go shooting with your friends, show up with these. The guys are going to go wild because they've seen all the gongs. They've never seen stuff like this. I've never seen anybody else shoot with this type of material and it be this effective. I'm so excited to get my friends and family out here, shoot these things, see what everybody thinks about them. It's going to be a great day. Well, I appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe, follow along with us. If you haven't been to our channel before, our channel is predominantly about farming. So we go over all kinds of homesteading style stuff. We go over the farming techniques, but we've also got a lot of range videos that we've recently been made because this is our winter project as it's cold and it's getting dark early. So we can go in the shop, we can build stuff. And so look back, see those other range videos, the other products that we made. Anything that you saw on my range today that you would like to make, there is a video on how to make it in my video archive there. So scroll back, check that out. Appreciate you watching. Until next time at Strong Roots Farm.